Halloween Ends is about to hit theaters, and it serves as the official conclusion to the Halloween franchise that started all the way back in 1978. Or refresher of everything that's happened in the Halloween film series so far. Don't worry, this video has you covered. This is everything you need to know before watching Halloween Ends. The original 1978 Halloween starts back in 1963 when a 6-year-old Michael Myers stabs his older sister to death after she has sex with her boyfriend. Cut to 1978 and an adult Michael Myers has broken out of Smith's Grove Sanitarium, just as his psychiatrist Dr. Samuel Loomis and Loomis' assistant, Marion Chambers, arrived to transport him to a court hearing that would potentially keep Michael locked up for good. On Michael's way to his hometown of Haddonfield, he kills a mechanic and takes his signature coveralls, and steals his infamous mask and knives from a hardware store. As Dr. Loomis teams up with Sheriff Brackett to hunt him down to lock back up forever, Michael begins stalking high school student Laurie Strode after seeing her at his childhood home. On Halloween night, Laurie is babysitting Tommy Doyle, a young outcast picked on by other kids at school, like the bully Lonnie Elam. Across the street, Laurie's friend Annie Brackett, the sheriff's daughter, babysits Lindsay Wallace. Eventually, Annie drops Lindsay off with Laurie so she can go hook up with her boyfriend Paul. And that's when Michael kills Annie. Later that night, Laurie and Annie's friend Linda and her boyfriend Bob arrive at the Wallace house and, after finding it empty, decide to have sex. And that's when Michael shows up and kills them too. Moral of the story? Never have sex in the general vicinity of Michael Myers. Eventually, Laurie goes over to the Wallace house to investigate and finds the bodies of her friends, and is then chased by Michael back over to the Doyle house. Laurie helps Tommy and Lindsay escape to call the police for help, and then begins her violent confrontation with Michael Myers. Laurie manages to stab Michael multiple times before Dr. Loomis finally arrives to finish him off with some gunshots to the chest. Michael appears to fall off the balcony to his death, but when Loomis and Laurie go to check, they discover that Michael Myers has disappeared. The story continues in the 2018 version of Halloween, where Michael Myers has been reinstitutionalized at Smith's Grove for the past 40 years. After an attempted interview by 2 true crime podcasters, Michael and many of his fellow inmates escape Smith's Grove when their bus crashes. Michael then tracks the podcasters, killing them and stealing back his infamous mask before once again heading back to Haddonfield. In the 40 years since her encounter with Michael Myers, Laurie is still living in intense fear. She lives in seclusion in a heavily fortified house and has little relationship with her adult daughter, Karen, who the state took from Laurie's care when she was 12. Her only real human connection is her teenage granddaughter, Allyson. Upon hearing that Michael has escaped, Deputy Frank Hawkins, who we learn is the officer that arrested Michael in 1978 after his confrontation with Laurie, tries to warn Sheriff Barker about the killer's imminent return, but the sheriff brushes him off. At a Halloween night costume party, Allyson discovers that her boyfriend Cameron, son of the original film's school bully Lonnie, is cheating on her. Hurt, Allyson leaves the party with Cameron's friend Oscar. Walking home from the party, Allyson and Oscar are attacked by Michael. Oscar is killed, but Allyson is saved by Hawkins and Michael's newest psychiatrist Dr. Sartain. Hawkins tries to kill Michael, but Sartain attacks him and leaves him for dead, revealing that he's become obsessed with Michael and helped orchestrate his escape to study him in the wild. This immediately backfires on Sartain, who is swiftly killed by Michael. During this chaos, Allyson manages to flee from the scene.
Laurie, Karen, and Karen's husband Ray all arrive at Laurie's fortified home to protect themselves. When Michael arrives at the house in a stolen cop car, Ray goes outside to speak with who he thinks are the police. Michael then reveals himself and strangles Ray to death. Laurie makes sure Karen is tucked away safely and then prepares for her showdown with Michael Myers. They trade blows, and Michael ends up stabbing Laurie and pushing her over a balcony. When Michael looks down at her body, he sees that it's missing in a nice reversal of the ending of the original film. When Allyson arrives at Laurie's home, the 3 generations of Strode women team up to fight Michael, shooting him and locking him up in the basement before setting the entire house ablaze. As Karen and Allyson rush to stab Laurie to the hospital, the Strode house continues to burn with a still breathing Michael trapped inside. In Halloween Kills, firefighters rush to put out the fires at Laurie Strode's house, unaware that the evil Michael Myers was lurking inside. Michael slaughters the firefighters before fleeing the scene. As Deputy Frank Hawkins is rushed to the hospital to recover from the wounds inflicted on him by the villainous Dr. Sartain, we learn more about the night he arrested Michael Myers in 1978. Hawkins accidentally shot and killed his own partner while trying to protect him from Michael, and when Dr. Loomis tried to kill Michael to prevent any further atrocities, Hawkins instead upheld the law and arrested the killer. In the present, the injured Hawkins is resolved to right his wrongs from the past and kill Michael Myers once and for all. Also in the hospital is Laurie Strode, who is recuperating from her own wounds inflicted at the hands of Michael. As Hawkins and Laurie recover from their wounds, they bond over their past relationship and their shared trauma caused by Michael Myers. Meanwhile, a now adult Tommy Doyle hosts a party to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Michael's imprisonment. Other attendees at the party include fellow survivors Marion Chambers, Lindsay Wallace, and Lonnie Elam. Upon hearing that Michael has escaped and was on a new killing spree, Tommy forms a mob of vengeful Haddonfield residents to hunt down and kill Michael. Allyson reconciles with her boyfriend, Cameron Elam, and they join Tommy's mob to avenge the death of Allyson's father. As the mob tracks Michael and deduce that he is heading toward his childhood home, the killer murders Marion Chambers and injures Lindsay. Tommy takes Lindsay to the hospital, where he is reunited with Haddonfield's former sheriff, Lee Brackett, whose daughter Annie was murdered during Michael's original 1978 killing spree. Meanwhile, Lance Tovely, a fellow escaped patient from Smith's Grove, wanders into the hospital and is mistaken by the mob to be Michael Myers. They pursue and attack the confused and defenseless man, despite Karen pleading for them to stop as they had the wrong guy. With nowhere to run, Lance is forced to jump out of a window and kill himself. Meanwhile, Lonnie, Cameron, and Allyson arrive at Michael's childhood home and decide to go inside to confront the killer. Michael murders Lonnie and Cameron, but as he attempts to kill Allyson, Karen arrives and stabs him with a pitchfork. The injured Michael chases Karen, who leads him directly to Tommy's mob. The mob swarm Michael and viciously beat him, seemingly to death. Unfortunately for them, the inhumanly evil Michael Myers survives the attack and slaughters the entire mob, including Tommy Doyle and Lee Brackett. As the movie comes to a close, Karen investigates Michael's childhood home, unaware that he survived the mob's attack. As Karen enters the bedroom of Judith Myers, Michael appears behind her and stabs her to death. How will this decades-long battle between Michael Myers and Laurie Strode conclude? We'll have to watch Halloween Ends to find out.